I just returned from 2 weeks in Tehran, one of the most intense journalistic experiences I've had, and one of the most extraordinary and radical changes of mood in a place that I've ever seen in a short time. I think this election offered the opportunity to bridge the gap between the regime and a very young society, 2/3 of whom are under 35, who thirst for more contact with the world, and that Mousavi represented a possible means of compromise, a man with impeccable revolutionary credentials who'd been close to Ayatollah Khomeini, who'd been prime minister through the 80s during the war period. But instead of using the election as a way to bridge this divide, I think the opposite has happened. There's been a power push by the most hardline wing within the government, and this has alienated many more members of society. So the division between them, where it was going, let's say at a 45-degree angle, is now going in diametrically opposite directions. And I think that will be a severe problem for Iran going forward. One positive result, at least in my view of all this, is that people in the United States had a rather one-dimensional view of Iran. It was seen uniquely through the prism of its nuclear program. You said Iran and people thought of mad mullahs and nukes and nuclear Armageddon. And I think Americans today, and this is a good thing, have a much broader and more accurate picture of Iran as a society that proved its vitality, that proved its engagement. I don't think anyone will forget the images of these people, young and old, shopkeepers and students, all kinds of people putting their lives on the line because they believed this election was fraudulent and they wanted their votes to count. So instead of just seeing this repressive regime, which proved far more brutal, I have to say, than I'd predicted, they now see Iran in a more rounded way. And that perhaps offers some opportunities going forward for dealing with it more effectively. The clerical establishment in Qom has been very quiet. It has not endorsed the result. Ali Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, the eminence grise of the regime since the revolution, two-time former president, is vehemently opposed to what has happened and is working, I understand, behind the scenes. Mousavi is clearly under some kind of near house arrest, but is still putting out statements on his website. He's not been seen in public for several days, and one of the problems in the last few days I was there was that he was not visible enough to give direction to the millions of people who are unhappy about what happened. One man to watch very closely, who I think will be a barometer of this, is Ali Larijani, the Speaker of the Majlis, or Parliament, who has been striking a rather measured, balanced tone. He has said, look, we have to hear the opposition. They may have a case that this was fraudulent. We may have to put Mr. Mousavi on TV to make his case. This is pretty extraordinary coming from a man who's close to Khamenei, the supreme leader, but who hates Ahmadinejad. And it's not impossible, in my view, that in the coming weeks or months, there may be a calculation within the Iranian establishment that Ahmadinejad is simply too much of a polarizing figure, too much of a symbol of this unhappy event to remain in his position, and he may have to be thrown overboard.